Are you ready to speak up? We're not even ready when that little voice in our head says, speak up. That's why today I argue that small fights will create a big life for anyone willing to get just a little uncomfortable and speak up. Did he just say small fights? I did. Let me explain. Picture it. There you are at a nice restaurant. The soup comes to the table. You take that first sip. Ugh, it's just not hot. Do you say something? Maybe to your table mates, half of whom say, it's fine. The other half says, you've got to send that back. Well, not wanting to rock the boat, you bite your tongue and you continue to sip on your lukewarm soup. Or imagine you're at work in a meeting and Taylor from marketing just pitched your idea as their own. You smile and you nod. Oh, but inside the anger is immediate. Although you think to yourself, don't say anything, not here in front of these people. Oh, you do complain mightily at dinner that night to whoever will listen. If these stories resonate, you're not alone. And it's not your fault. We're genetically programmed to avoid conflict in this modern life of ours. Let's rewind the clock a little. As my young daughter likes to say, 1, 2, skip a few, 99, 100. Let's skip a few years, say 100,000. And we're watching a band of early humans in the African Valley around a campfire. They're sharing resources like food, shelter, defenses. When a dispute arises, say one member takes more than their fair share of the hunt, likely an elder raises a hand. There's a sharing feast. The problem is resolved. At sunrise the next day, the wandering camp moves on. Their instincts said, there's some safety in silence. Don't rock the boat. For this group, to avoid conflict was to survive. They cooperated because they must. There were some pretty significant risks otherwise, for example, social isolation and becoming lunch for a saber-toothed tiger. Their instincts taught them, don't rock the boat. Every single person in this room carries that same tiny piece of biological software in us that's holding us back. It's that part that says, ooh, conflict. No, thank you. What saved our ancestors has kept you from getting what you want. Deep down, our brain still believes conflict equals danger. So what are we going to do about it? Let's just assume that spears, fires, rituals, out of the question. Here's the good news. This isn't fate. It's a default setting that we can override. Today, let's rewire our definition of conflict and the courage we need to embrace it. And it starts with nothing more than a courageous ask. First, let's acknowledge conflict, confrontation, not always available or appropriate to everyone all the time. Social norms, power dynamics, safety. There is a wrong time and a wrong place to make the right ask. And too often, we fail to make the ask. We're afraid to make the ask because we assume the answer will be no, and that no will be painful. Turns out, we're terrible forecasters of other people's no's. Research shows that we underestimate how often people will say yes by up to 50%. Think about that. You're building up this conflict inside your head while at the same time underestimating the possibility of a yes by a flip of a coin. My work involves managing and leading contract negotiations. I have more uncomfortable conversations before lunch than I care to admit. And that's not counting the negotiations I have with my daughters, which, if I'm honest, I typically lose. what I've learned after years of practice of negotiating, doing research, talking with business leaders, is what separates stagnation from success is one thing: courage. The only way that I know to earn favorable contract terms is with the courage to embrace a little conflict. In truth, I didn't always embrace conflict. My parents are great. They love each other. At the same time, growing up in my house, arguments happened behind closed doors. I didn't see a lot of the hard work, tough conversations that go into a relationship. I tell you this because I had to learn how to confront and how to negotiate. I don't think I'm alone. Many of us are raised to equate conflict with aggression or disrespect. Combine that with our genetic predisposition, and this is something we need to practice. So now, we know why we avoid conflict, why we need to embrace it, but how? How do we push past years of wiring? We practice our courageous asks. Here's 3 simple steps. Step 1, and it's the biggest secret. We don't try to solve ginormous problems, at least not yet. We start with necessary, tiny conflicts, and we learn that the world does not end. Step 2, keep it simple, keep it clear. How we show up matters, and when you're confident and clear with yourself and others on what you want, the path forward will open up. Simple, clear. This is not, gosh, I was wondering if maybe I could, what do you think? I call that a wet noodle ask. We're not going to do that. Step 3, welcome what's next. You've got the courage to make the ask, and maybe you get a yes or a no or simply a path forward. Regardless, welcome that dialogue. Be prepared to go a little bit deeper into a stage that I affectionately call micro-negotiation. Now, if negotiating causes a brief sweat, fear not. I consider negotiating just the exchange of ideas with a little persuasion sprinkled in. Remember that coworker Taylor? They tried to steal our idea. You don't need to fight. You just need to make an ask. And ask for credit. Taylor, can we talk for 2 minutes? I'd like us to agree on the origin of that idea before we talk to leadership. Or an ask for clarity. What would make this a win for you? I really like that one because it shifts the conflict into a shared problem. Or in another very common corporate scenario, work is heaped upon you. Ask for boundaries. I'm happy to add that extra task if we can extend the deadline by a couple of days, or we remove X, which works for you. Now, what if the response is animosity or just, gosh darn it, something less than what we wanted? Great. This is a negotiation after all, and even the smallest ones require a little give and take. And the phrase that I go to more than any other, except for maybe, please share with your sister, is simply, tell me more about that. In that moment, we ask for nothing more, absolutely nothing more than to understand without giving up our ask or our power. Remember, after the ask, welcome what's next. And once you're comfortable making the ask, it's time to apply that courage where the consequences are a little bigger, especially early in your career, and that's the salary negotiation. I learned this the hard way. Fresh out of school, taking the first salary offered, taking what was given to me every year. When I left that role, I found myself far behind the marketplace, and it took me years to catch up. I tell you this so that you don't make the same mistake. And if you are a woman, this is even more important. Research shows that the failure to negotiate a starting salary has significant consequences. A woman who routinely negotiates a higher salary will earn over $1 million more by retirement than a woman who takes what she's given without asking for more. Now picture this. A young woman, 24, fresh out of grad school, sitting at a table across from her future manager. She's handed an offer for her dream job, and every ounce of her being screams, say, "Thank you, don't seem greedy." Instead, she pauses. She takes a breath, and she makes a courageous ask. "I appreciate the offer, and I'm excited about the team. But based on the research I've done, the value that I believe I can bring, I feel comfortable with," and she names a number, 20% more. Silence. The hiring manager raises an eyebrow. "That's above our range." "I understand," she says. "And I really want to make this work, and I'm confident I can contribute quickly." The next day, they came back with an additional 15% and a sign-on bonus that she hadn't even asked for. That 15% wasn't just money, it was momentum. It was a signal to herself that she could ask for more, that she could lean into the discomfort. Within 2 years, she was leading a team, not because she waited her turn, but because she had the courage to have the conversations that most avoid. Every tiny ask, every small negotiation makes a space for your legitimacy. It sets a precedent for your responsibility. It sets a precedent for your leadership, a precedent for your worth. We owe it to ourselves and our communities to speak up. But I understand avoiding conflict, staying comfortable. Oh, it is so tempting. And then I think about who needs me the most. And what do I tell my daughters when they ask, "Dad, how do I stand up when I'm being bullied?" What I think they're saying is, "Dad, will you show me how to stand up for myself?" And in that moment, I realize something uncomfortable. If I avoid conflict in my own life, I'm teaching them to avoid it in theirs. Our kids don't learn courage because we tell them to be brave. They learn it by watching us step into discomfort with a steady voice. If I want my daughters to believe that they deserve the credit, to believe that they deserve the opportunity, then I need to model the asks I hope they one day make. Their futures rise or fall based on the conflicts that we as parents and a community are willing to face today. Today, we started at a campfire. An elder raised a hand. A problem resolved at sunrise. The camp moved on. Our ancestors stayed together by avoiding needless conflict. They thought that there was safety in silence. Now, we know better. We will keep our community together, your progress strong, by having the courage to face necessary conflict. Here is your immediate assignment. Not in theory, in the next 48 hours. You pick one name. You write one line. You set one time. Pick one name to speak to. Write one line of that conversation you've been meaning to have. Set one time on the calendar to make that ask. Ask to lead the meeting. Ask to be credited for the idea. Ask for feedback, a raise. Ask for the room. Do it not because you like conflict, but because you practice it. Because precedent is born the moment you press send. Precedent is born the moment you speak up. Remember, there's no safety in silence. Our courage today rewrites years of instinct, so take the step our ancestors could not. One name, one line, one time, one courageous ask. We move at sunrise. Thank you.